Well, the F1 team bosses have given their driver rankings, and as you can expect, F1 Twitter, as well as the F1 fan bases in general, are very calm and tranquil about the whole thing. So here, today, we're going to give our blatantly biased rankings of the field. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
How are you, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. What would you blame these rankings on before we jump into other things?
I mean, the obvious fact that F1 paid for the rankings, clearly. They were paying them. The FIA paid for them. Corruption. Alcohol could help, yeah. Depends when they did them.
Probably after the 24 races. I mean, after 24 races, even you don't remember. I don't think anyone remembers who did what in those 24 races, right? So it's probably Max won, their first driver at second, the second driver at third, and then whoever comes to mind.
Yeah. I think the overarching thing that was like fair and was going to happen on any list is Verstappen's first, because even though he didn't win the championship, his run this year, like, you've had a good run when everyone is bringing up one race that lost you the title, like one moment,
exactly.
Where you're like, that's what lost you the
title. I mean, he's
consensus
the benchmark in F1. That is still the case, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Still incredible.
Exactly. Yeah. So cool. We have quite a few things to talk about this time around. I mean, we are going to talk about our blatantly biased driver rankings for 2020. Which one was it? 2025.
25.
We're still there.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days left.
Getting old now because the years are passing so quickly. You've forgotten which year it is. So, as was the case. Last week was my birthday, so as a couple of friends called and asked, how old are you? I'm like, fuck, I stopped counting after 25 or 30. I keep telling people the wrong age. I
stopped counting. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're going to talk about the PU loophole, the whole compression ratio thing that's been... We would have gotten around it last week, but both of us were under the weather because of external extenuating circumstances. Then we have apparently GP is leaving, or there are conversations of teams approaching him. Surprisingly,
I guess we'll talk about it. But I think it's looking more and more likely to me that he's gonna leave,
which is a bit of a surprise.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Also about his wife as well. Also shitty situation. I have a few things to talk about that, because a lot of holier than thou people have been posting a lot of stuff. Anyways, after that,
people on social media saying things. Tell me it's not true.
And then again, we'll do our driver ratings. We'll get to that. So first of all, let's start with the PU loophole. Actually, no. Before we do that, guys, if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Okay? We are trying to reach 1K now. It's been a while. If you're already... Well, if you are a subscriber, before we proceed, tell us how shitty the driver rankings from the team bosses is. And then we can proceed. Yeah. So let's...
We just need a 500-to-1 compression ratio of 500 subscribers to each one host, and then we'll be fine. So if we can just get to 1,000 subscribers,
then we
really
won't pester you,
guys.
Promise.
Yeah, we will, but less so. Yeah.
So, what's your take on the whole PU, the power unit loophole thing?
First of all, it's a clever loophole. It's just a generally clever interpretation and clearly this was flagged, by the way. I'll loop back to that, but a clever interpretation that obviously, the tests are done much like the flexi wings at a static situation, because it's very, very difficult to measure anything when you're out on track in all different circumstances. So just this clear thing of, what if we use some sort of material that expands at a certain temperature, and then essentially that'll give us a higher compression rate, and a higher compression rate gives you much more power from the V6 itself. I think it's a clever loophole. I honestly, having looked at it as like, I'm not like a mechanical engineer or any sort of engineer in this sort of circumstances. Like, I'm a computer science guy. I studied a bit of astrophysics, and even I, looking at it straight away, like just reading it for the first time, and I know part of this is obviously you're reading it after hearing the news, so it's easier to say this, but it did seem to me that I was like, surely any engineer reading that would have spotted, like, well, we could run that at a different temperature otherwise. That was my initial thought, but then when you look at how it went, it was actually some sort of clarification throughout the year that then has caused this issue, from my understanding. So basically, the at ambient temperature piece of the regulation was added later on after, I believe, one of the teams clarified something with the FIA, or the FIA spotted something. So that makes it more easy to go, oh, well, obviously now we can change this out on track. Whereas without the at ambient temperature, you know, it makes it a little bit more difficult, because then you're looking at the tests and so on. But yeah, it's amazing thinking, and what we love about F1, right? Like, you're trying to extract every single piece. It's not cheating if the rule can be interpreted as this and the tests are done at this point. As long as you pass those tests, it's not cheating. It's up to the FIA to enforce the tests. So clever engineering, and interesting that Ferrari are so annoyed about it, which means they didn't think of it. Well, Ferrari were one of the teams that were
All
really
of them, basically,
pushing for protests and
it's
stuff,
not
right? Everyone except Red Bull and Mercedes, right?
So,
but I'm just saying, Ferrari, you would think, would have spotted something like this.
why would you think that? Why would you?
Because the Ferrari engine department's usually pretty good,
You've
especially
forgotten
in
2014, have you?
You've forgotten 2019, haven't you?
Okay, so I'll give a bit of a background to anyone who is not aware of what has actually happened. So until 2025, the current V6 turbos that we have, in these V6 turbos, we could have 18:1 as a compression ratio. For 2026, this thing was changed to 16:1. It was essentially done to accommodate new manufacturers that are joined. So Audi and Honda. Not even Honda, probably
for anyone just on a really simple level, by the way. When they're talking about the compression ratio, basically what they're saying is when the liquid, like the gas, the fuel comes into the piston, how much the piston can actually compress that fuel, basically, as it pushes up.
Basically,
just in case anyone's wondering what 18
piston goes like
is.
this. So it's essentially, compression is basically how much you can compress the air or the fuel or the
before it combusts.
Yeah, exactly. So the higher you can the higher pressure. What actually happens is, the more the compression ratio, the higher pressure would be there. The higher pressure means it would ultimately, you will have a more efficient process, the entire process. That's the entire battle, right? If for 1 joule of energy, how much you can convert to power. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I was just thinking, as I was saying it, there might be people watching this going,
100%.
What is compression ratio?
Yeah. So that bit is there. And then, so the regulations were changed. They were brought down to 16:1. Now, the reason why they were brought down to 16:1 is because since teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, and Honda, to a large extent, they have been working on in ICEs for a while, so they have the expertise to take it to 18 in general. And what happens is, the more you increase the compression ratios, there's a phenomena called knocking, which is basically the antithesis of your. What knocking is, essentially, it means that the fuel ignites before the ignition, before any external ignition, which leads to a negative impact. So just to not go into that zone, they brought it down to 16:1. Now, what teams like Mercedes,
anything above 18 as well becomes like notoriously difficult for reliability, which
depends
is
entirely,
why,
right?
In these blocks anyway, apparently it's like anything over 18 becomes super difficult to run reliably, which is why 18 almost, like,
that's where they perfected it in, essentially. Because you can. They brought it to 18 in the last regulation. Before that, it used to be a different figure. So essentially what they're trying to do is, the higher you can take it, the bigger scope there is for, you can say, performance, and hence there's a bigger gap that can be created. So what has happened here is, since the teams are operating at 16:1, they were told to operate at 16:1. The regulation states that at ambient temperature, your compression ratio should be 16:1. There's no conversation of what it is supposed to be during operating conditions. Now, what happens is, and I think this was something that was pointed out by John Noble as well, and I think Mark Hughes wrote about this on X, that when we are making measurements of any particular part on a car, we are making it in ambient conditions. We are not doing it while it is operational, because it's impossible to do so. Every car is because what happens is, when car is going through stress or strain, it usually expands. So those parts are not going to fall in your whatever dimensions you've set up. This was basically why I think it was not only Mercedes, it was probably a couple of other teams that were in agreement with the change because they wanted this to be added. Because if this was not there, any team, be it Mercedes or anyone, can actually say that no car is going to be within these regulations at all times. It has to be measured at ambient temperature, ambient conditions. So that's why it was brought in. Now, brilliance, you can say, from Mercedes, where they are using specific material science in terms of whatever material they're using, so that the essentially what is going on is the piston can expand, or the cylinder in which it can expand. When it expands, it basically means you are able to more efficiently use the fuel that is being ultimately pumped into the chamber. Again, too technical, I'm sorry. I went too deep into it. On a very basic note, the more compression ratio you can achieve, the more efficiency. And because even though we have 50% electric power, a chunk of that electric power is going to come through this fuel, because ultimately your internal combustion is going to supply that, which is fucking ridiculous on face value, but that is how it's going to be. Ultimately, if everything is perfectly done, you're looking at a 3 to 4 tenths advantage per lap.
Yeah.
If it is perfectly done, by the way, this is the biggest caveat, because we still don't know how much Mercedes or Red Bull are basically reaching that level.
I mean, you're also talking about the fact that because they have this test at ambient temperature, even though they've ran 18-1 in the previous regulation set, they're now running 16-1 that has to change to 18-1 as the car heats up, which essentially could be one of those situations. And I mentioned this, I don't know where I mentioned this, but exactly, where like this can seem absolutely brilliant on a dyno, but then you go out on track, you have various different situations of cooling, running through different situations, the engine like getting bounced up and down, which it's not on a dyno, for example. You're having this experimental material design that could easily fail in those circumstances. Like you're talking very, very on the edge. So this could be like 2022, where in the wind tunnel, zero pods seemed like the fucking best way to run the car, produce the most downforce. Turns out what Newey knew from the start was you don't want to aim for the most downforce in this regulation, because that's going to cause you problems. And Mercedes didn't know that. And exactly. So again, the reason I just bring that up is, as you say, like we keep hearing, oh, this will have the best engine numbers. But what does that do for reliability in certain circumstances? How does 100%. How does that power the electrical engine? But as you said, if it works exactly as they're hoping, yes, it could be roughly 4
So basically what we're looking at is if it is optimally done and if it reaches 18:1. First of all, we don't know that it is reaching 18:1. Secondly, we don't know if they can run it reliably at 18:1 and stuff like that. So essentially what we know, by the way, we are breaking it down into, first of all, what the regulation is, what the benefit is, then whether it is legal, then the kind of benefits they're going to get. Slightly just, keeping things easier for everyone. So the 3 to 4 tenths, this is a particular area where Mercedes and Red Bull as well, they might be able to gain. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other areas within a power unit that we currently have that other teams cannot exploit. Honda is probably one of the best when it comes to the electrical part of the power unit in F1. The reason why Max and Red Bull were so strong in 2021, essentially it was the power that they were producing, the electric side of things. You cannot discount that. So this might be a benefit and they might gain from it, but you cannot really jump to conclusion that season is done. It's way too early.
No, because I mean, like, even if, for example, let's say Honda doesn't have this, there's other talk that Honda and Audi, I think it is, have found some sort of loophole where they can basically absolutely completely recharge the MGUK with the ICE power unit. And if they can do that, then it would mean that they would have full, basically, electrical charge throughout the whole lap when other teams are managing. And that's going to be worth way more than 4 tenths. So this whole doom saying on Twitter and in the YouTube comments I've seen of like, oh, well, that's it, then right off 2026. It's like, guys, it's one thing. And like, I mean, sure, we've seen this before with like double diffusers in 2009, where it is that one thing that makes all the difference.
It didn't make the difference for Toyota or Williams, by the way. There were 3 teams that had that, right?
Exactly. So you still have to have
everything
You
working
still have to
together.
have everything else together. Yeah. So
It's too early to say, right?
Yeah.
And I think this, and also, by the way, again, now a lot of people have an issue with this, but you know who was?
Can I?
Yeah, go for
Sorry,
it.
go
Go
ahead,
for
yeah.
it.
No, because you're gonna bring something up about the cheating.
No,
thing, I'm
no.
guessing. So.
I was going to say that.
Oh.
How did Red Bull ultimately find something, gain knowledge of
yeah,
this
yeah,
loophole?
yeah.
They gained it because
They brought a lot of people from
yeah,
Mercedes.
and who did that?
I'm not sure the specific. Oh, Horner.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know what you're getting
Exactly.
at. Sorry, I thought you were asking who the specific person
But
was.
no,
that brought
Lauren
across. I'm
Macias
like,
did
I'm not
that.
sure.
Don't you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think like, look, if Red Bull have got that, and it's only Red Bull and Mercedes who figured it out, then it's pretty obvious that Red Bull got that from
No,
Mercedes.
it's reported.
in my opinion.
This is reported
Yeah.
that the person moved and
I've seen the reports. I'm just saying I would take that as pretty obvious
Yeah.
anyway, because Red Bull's too new, I think, to have beaten companies like Audi, Ferrari, and
Exactly.
else. Maybe I'm wrong.
Exactly.
But the thing I was going to say about the cheating thing is I saw a few comments on because I mentioned it on a YouTube video, and I saw a lot on Twitter as well of people comparing this to the 2019 Ferrari situation, and it's just such an obvious difference for me because, look, I don't really want any of these teams to have a major advantage in engine because it'll be boring. But this is part of F1, right? And the key difference to me is when you're looking at this, when it comes to the regulations, and I've said this for ages, I said this with the flexi wings for McLaren this year, for example, for Red Bull with the bib, like for Red Bull with a few things in the past that people have complained about. For me, it's like if the tests are X and you pass those tests, then you're fine. And that's it. Like that's basically you're given a set of regulations and it's like, okay, FIA, how will you test this? And the FIA are going to say, we're going to test it this way. It's like, okay, well, we pass your test. So that's fine. If it does something else throughout the track, like tough, FIA need to regulate better. That's the way the rules are played. The difference with 2019 Ferrari is the FIA said, we're going to test it this way. And Ferrari said, okay, we're going to circumvent your testing. That is cheating. That's completely different. This is not passing a test; it's circumventing.
maybe
a test.
go a bit more maybe go into a bit more detail because I think a lot of people might not be aware what happened.
So essentially, Ferrari, there was a regulation in 2017 onwards. So
16,
I
right?
think so. I know it wasn't 2018.
No. It was much earlier. It was something that was
but it was basically you were allowed a certain fuel flow into the engine, so a certain amount of liters.
should have been there by
from
2014 only, if I'm not wrong.
It could have been from 2014 or 2015 onwards, yeah. But they were only allowed to basically pump a certain amount of fuel into the engine. Now, the FIA, what they did was they created a fuel flow meter that had to go in there in order to allow to check that fuel flow was correct. Because obviously, if you can pump more fuel in, you get a major advantage. And what Ferrari did was essentially set up a way to split that fuel flow. So some of it would go to the FIA meter and the rest of it would go through Ferrari's own fuel flow meter. And that way, basically, they completely cheated because the test was, here's the fuel flow meter. All of the fuel under the regulations has to go through the fuel flow meter. And they basically routed some of it around to their own one. If they had figured out a way to pump it slower into one side, reservoir it on the other side, and then pump it into the engine, that would be passing a test, but interpreting the regulations in a way that you get more power. The fact was they just completely bypassed the test, which is what makes it cheating for me. So the point here is if the test is done at ambient regulation or ambient temperatures, and you pass it at ambient temperatures, that's not cheating. You've passed the test. You've befit the regulation. So that for me is, I just think if you don't like that, then you probably shouldn't watch F1 because F1 isn't about your favorite driver. It's about the car and engineering. The driver is secondary. As much as everyone loves the driver stuff, F1 is about the cars, the regulations, the engineers. Yeah. So if you don't like that stuff, then watch something else. Like I don't get it. Like
there's this huge account, and he's a decently big account. He's around 10k X followers. Zach Brown. I mean, he's a huge Ferrari guy, but.
The McLaren CEO?
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. I'm joking.
Yeah, the other one. And he the problem is, again, he's a good lad, but every time first of all, the point is, if you're going to reverse engineer your logic, it becomes very hard. So he was talking about it, and his view is that the FIA has been basically compromised, and now Mercedes has the power advantage and they are basically politically handling all these things. And look, if you want to go down that route, it's first of all you need to understand that Ferrari still has a veto power. You also have to understand that Ferrari is still the most valuable brand in Formula One.
Yeah, Ferrari. That's a very, very good point that you bring up there, because if the FIA was compromised, right, and if first of all, I think Ferrari would know about it before some guy on Twitter, regardless of who that guy on Twitter is. Like, no offense to the guy on Twitter, but if you're just a guy on Twitter, I think Ferrari know more about the internals of F1 and the FIA than you do. Simple as that. Well, you would hope, actually. It is Ferrari, I'm saying. But you think some of the teams would know. And that's a very good point you bring up. Ferrari have veto power. So if Ferrari were like, no, this is them trying to help Mercedes. If Ferrari actually thought that was happening, they could just veto the entire thing and say, right,
I mean, the funniest thing is...
It's 16-1 compression.
Yeah, the funniest thing is, okay, for Mercedes is the supergiant who apparently keeps getting concessions since 2014. The last time I remember, they kind of got fucked over in 2021 Abu Dhabi. And the last 4 years, they've been dog shit. At no point has Mercedes won anything, right? I think we can count on basically one hand how many races they won. They won 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. They've won 6 races.
It's probably 6 or 7.
So
you can, in Chernobyl, you could count on one hand. Yeah. Maybe in Fukushima. But you're right. Like, but this happens every single time, right? Like, as soon as Red Bull starts winning, everyone says, "Oh, Red Bull is in bed with the FIA." When it's Ferrari's in bed with the FIA. This is just the normal every single time it happens.
But again,
like McLaren, I said that in 2024. It's like McLaren started winning races, and I made a joke. I was like, I wonder how long before people start saying McLaren is in bed with the FIA.
Didn't take long.
And it was literally 6 months.
Didn't take long, right?
Yeah, it was.
It's the same nonsense. Yeah. By the way, Red Bull was the team that went through it first, at least in front of us in 2010 when the whole flexiving thing popped off.
Yeah, that popped up. Although I remember it with, there was a lot of talk around it with McLaren even in 2007 until they fell out with Max Mosley, obviously, and that's when
that was.
But Ferrari as well, like, you know,
the rear
Bernie
dampers
Eccleston saying you can't change the regulations just to piss off Ferrari, even though technically they did do that.
Yeah,
but
2003, the biggest one. I mean, it's always been the case with Formula One. There's a lot of these things. The problem is, for at least when it came to the whole coverage of Formula One, the whole thing Ferrari internal assistance or whatever it was, what the FIA was called in the time when Michael was dominating. The problem is the kind of steps that were taken to halt Ferrari in those 5 years. We saw none of it during the Mercedes dominance era. It was stable, do whatever the fuck you want. You've got a second per lap advantage. Go ahead, go nuts. We had none of that. But again, because a British media is your chunk when it comes to your narrative setting in Formula One, you had a lot of accusations from early 2000s and none of it until 2014 to 2021. It speaks a lot. But that's usually what happens with this. So, I mean, just to sum it up, the whole power unit thing, I think I'd still say give it time. I am still not ready to make a prediction or say that, okay, Red Bull they've nailed the power unit for 2026. I'd still wait. Yeah. And the same goes for, honestly, the same goes for Mercedes and every other team. Let's see what happens with them. Yeah. Let's talk about GP then.
This is
you
crazy.
Around? I have not been able to have had.
Yeah. So Red Bull are obviously trying to keep him. Obviously, as you can expect. Essentially, the idea is that he will not be a race engineer next year. That's the first thing we can kind of essentially confirm. I think everyone already knows that anyway. So the question is, who's going to be Max's race engineer? Probably Simone Resta, right? Simone Rennie.
Simon Rennie.
Isn't it? The name?
Daniels.
Yes, I was getting confused with Simone Resta. That's where I'm getting confused.
He's the engineer.
Yeah, so that's the first thing that is more or less confirmed. There's just, I don't see any situation in which GP continues as the race engineer, for the moment at least. And it would make sense that they're going to just figure that out basically from now anyway, because you're not going to want to switch that out halfway through the year, it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, GP's having some personal issues at home. Obviously, we've kind of mentioned that, but I don't know how much we want to get into that. Like, it's kind of,
everyone knows.
Really, but essentially, family member has some sort of illness, it seems, and we'll leave it at that, I guess. But yeah, so in those circumstances, GP wants to spend more time at home, and it seems like Red Bull is kind of like happy for him to get just into the head of racing situation and just take that,
stay home
where he is at the minute, because he's head of racing at the moment, but essentially allow him to do that in a situation where someone else would take over the at the track situation or at the track issues unless he wants to. And this is where Aston and Williams allegedly have swooped. Now, I've had it confirmed that it isn't. Well, to me, I've had it confirmed that it isn't just those two.
Oh.
And apparently, someone at Alpine has reached out as well. But I don't know how much I could believe that. But then again, to be fair, if news starts to spring in the F1 world that like Williams and Aston are asking, then you're probably going to have other teams get on the phone anyway.
It's basically,
so
that GP's on the market is the big thing, right?
Exactly, yeah. And Alpine is close to his home, so it would make sense
Mercedes,
that would be another team.
Brackley's also there.
I haven't talked to anyone from Mercedes, but yeah. But the other thing with Alpine as well, the person who said that to me has also been like kind of mentioning to me more about the Horner talks and so on. So it wouldn't be surprising if Horner's talks are advancing and he was like, you need to get onto GP immediately. Like, you know, so that would be interesting. But yeah, the big ones that have been reported have been Williams and Aston, obviously. And Aston, it seems like they're willing to offer a much bigger advancement than anyone else, which is like proper
DP?
CEO, team principal level. Yeah. It'd be interesting if he was like CEO level. That CEO level would kind of make sense, to be honest, because that would allow him to take over most of the stuff from home that essentially Newey doesn't want to do, and Newey could stay team principal, but he wouldn't have to do the things that he doesn't want to, essentially. So he could still focus on performance, the car design, that kind of thing, but be at the track to deal with performance, while GP handles sponsors, media,
everything,
all the things that basically Newey hasn't. Yeah, and GP could do that as much as he wanted from home, and plus it's the team where he started. So
it depends, right? I mean, these are. Considering the situation he's in, would he want such a high intensity and high stake role? That's the
the question. Yeah.
I mean, we don't know. We don't
guess,
really. The first thing is we don't know how the situations are back at home when it comes to him. So we really can't make any such judgments. We don't really know. I'm a bit surprised that on one side the news comes out that he's having personal issues, and then on the other hand he's on the market, which is a bit weird. The both of them happening together, it's a bit strange.
Yeah, but I guess at the same time, like, I mean, it's probably a situation of these teams are kind of swooping in and going, look, we can give you this situation and also let you, like, we have interim people who can handle this stuff for now. And he's thinking to himself, right, like, this might be the perfect time to essentially take a step back. And by starting somewhere new, you're also under no pressure, because you've basically, from the outset, you've said to them, look, I'm going to need X amount of time to deal with this situation first, and you're going in with that understanding, which is why James Vels does make sense, because he would be exactly the type of person who would offer that kind of, you can start in 2027. Let's just bash it out now. And the other thing is too, there's a point there to keep in mind, is that, for example, the guy who told me about the Alpine situation was saying he's being offered a fairly high up management role, which isn't team principal, because obviously that sounds like it's going to be handled by someone else, or maybe team principal under CEO Horner, if that does happen. But the other thing is as well, if he triggers that like this month, what they're saying is we can give you extended time, and Red Bull's going to want gardening leave anyway of a year. So
it depends, right? It's a 6-month thing, if I'm not wrong.
Essentially, it gives him the situation where it depends, yes, but like it could be up to a year with Red Bull. Sometimes they're like that. So it could be a situation of he takes a full year off of gardening leave and then has a new situation to come into. So it's kind of like completely closing out something, dealing with the family situation, and then going to a new opportunity to kind of start afresh. So I think it does make sense when you factor in gardening leave. If you forget about the gardening leave, then it's an odd choice, because you're like, why would you be doing? Whereas if he stays at Red Bull, he's probably smack into pressured situation from January. So it probably makes more sense to leave than it does to stay.
Interesting. What happens with Max in case he leaves?
Well, I think Max is gone regardless, right? So I guess this is just going to be a holdover year for Max, and it's kind of let's see what happens, because he's worked with Simon Rennie already, so that's not a huge. It is a big change, obviously.
The
but,
routes
like,
are gone, right?
for this year.
This is the final
Yeah.
route that is left. Because other than GP, who else is there? Marco is gone. Horner is
Yeah.
gone. That's your whole. Newey
It's
is
gonna be a
gone.
weird year,
Italy's gone. There's no one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the main thing, the good thing is that, I mean, they said if Horner goes, it'll stabilize the team, and at least that's worked out. Well done, Yas.
I mean,
it's not like everyone else is left after
I'd
Horner.
still say let's wait for 2 years to ultimately see the fruits of the labor, right?
Yeah, I just think it was funny that he was like, you know, if Horner doesn't leave, this whole team's going to fall apart. Horner leaves, and people keep every week. It sounds like someone else is like, yeah, I'm out of here. Good luck.
It's going
So,
to happen anyways.
yeah.
Let's see. I think for me,
But yeah, Max has also signed the GT thing. You saw that too.
That
right?
was. I think that was. I still say that's a bit on the.
I know it's
parallel.
just it's a lovely
Yeah,
coincidence.
the Mercedes. They moved from Ferrari to Mercedes. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think from when it comes to Max, it's just if the. For a long time, I felt that he's stressed on this thing as well. That if he feels right within a team, he will stay. But when every anchor is going, it makes you think that maybe he might take a year off as well. That's also something.
The
that's
main
there.
thing for me is just like, it's probably the same feeling with GP, which is like, when Horner's gone, Helmut's gone, Newey's gone, you know, all these big guys are going. It's probably a situation of like, before those guys left, even when you're going through shit, this is like your second family that's around you, and you're like, oh, I'm getting this offer, but I'm staying with my family. Like, we've built something here together. Now that all those guys are gone, it's kind of like, well, who am I staying for?
Well, Max,
You know, like,
but
what's
I
the-
don't think Max is staying there.
But
I won't
Max
be
is
surprised if
probably
Max
already.
is. I mean, we've talked about it a lot of times, right? Max probably moving to Mercedes. It seems like a done deal for a while for us. I think it's still a done deal. I won't be surprised in 2027 if we have a Max Kimi lineup.
Unless he's second in the championship in Red Bull, that's the only thing.
He
that could
won't be
stop
second in the
him. And even
championship
then, I reckon
by
that's
Austrian
still,
Grand Prix.
No, but that's the only thing that could stop it.
Yeah, let's see.
I don't see that happening. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, anyways, leave it. I was thinking of going on a rant on the whole holier than thou nonsense from a lot of journalists when it comes to bashing publications. By the way, we didn't.
Let's jump into it a little bit. What did they say?
A few of the journalists who they go to a lot of races, they are accredited with the FIA and stuff, and they had quite a lot of things to say about the whole story of GP being published by different publications. Now, to clarify, we didn't because the Red Bull internal messaging had already reached us that don't share such a thing, don't publish it. Now, a lot of publications did, and I've reached a point. I've seen how money is made when it comes to publication, websites, and everything. I'm not going to question anyone. At least I've reached that.
Yeah.
When all these guys come out and talk about this nonsense, this whole holier than thou attitude. I mean, it's been 2 years or 3 years when during a free practice session there was literally a fucking missile that was being blasted right in front of them in Jeddah, and none of them asked a single question. Then what the fuck are you doing? What's your duty? You're supposed to be the journalist, right? If you're not doing your job, then just shut the fuck up. Don't. I won't publish it. Again, I won't publish it, but I'm not going to sit and be the holier than thou when it comes to such a thing. At least that's my take on the whole thing.
For me, it's like, just, I don't know, just there just needs to be an update on the word journalist and stuff as well, I think, because like a lot of these people, it's like we've had this rant off air a lot of the time. It's like, for me, it's the difference between like a media journalist and a podcaster. It's like, I expect a certain level from one, and the other one I treat as entertainment. And I get your point that, like, you know, a lot of people look to these people for specific, you know, and I'm like, well, you shouldn't. Like, they're not supposed to be that standard.
Yeah, you're talking
that's
about JRE and all, I'm assuming.
For example, where it's like that's an entertainment platform, in my opinion. And it's
know,
like,
man.
I know we've had, but my point is, like, the reason I get more annoyed at one than the other is one represents itself as like a proper kind of media outlet, and the other is supposed to be entertainment. I get why you get annoyed, because one also does represent itself recently as an information. You know what I mean? Like, you know what we're saying. But like, this is the point for me where these quote unquote F1 journalists is like, if you're just some guy on social media, fine, say whatever the fuck you want. But like, don't tell me you're an accredited journalist and then talk this shit. You know what I
That's
mean?
the whole thing.
There's levels.
Do journalism. The first journalism that you need to do is you continue to go in war-torn areas and you don't ask a single fucking question when it comes to that. You toe the line every fucking day. And if you're going to do that, shut the fuck up. Don't come out and... for me, why it pissed me off is because in the last year, I've fired at least 10 to 12 writers. And in the industry, the situation is bad. And when you have these holier-than-thou morons come out and say, for a single buck, you're going to do that? Fuck yeah, they're going to do that. Go fuck yourself. It pissed me off so much because I know I've groomed people and I've let them go this season. And it pisses me off when some moron comes on and says such a thing. But yeah, anyways.
Journalism is dead. Forget about it. You're in the wrong industry.
I am. I don't even call myself a journalist.
You should become a podcaster.
I don't call myself a journalist. So I mean, even when I was on that the appearance I made on TV just a few days back, they asked if I had journalist. I said no. F1 writer, senior F1 writer, and content strategist. I'm not writing journalist.
I always joke about that on Wheel Sports. Like, what was it? The other day I got a few comments from people who are like, I love that you open this with, people are going to get angry about this, but this is my channel and I'll say whatever the fuck I want.
Because again, the same thing happened, right? I was on Saturday, we are going way off topic when it comes to this. Because on Saturday there was this panel I was invited and it was specifically for the media landscape in sports. And the question, there was one person from cricket, it was an Aussie guy. I can't name him for confidential reasons. People will know who he is. The other person was from the MMA industry. The third person was from tennis. I was from Formula 1. And there was one other guy who was just mediating and asking questions. And there's one thing that stands out with all of them. It's the same trend that's following. The trust in media has gone so low that people have moved to independent broadcasters. And the reason is the holier-than-thou attitude when it comes to that. I'm this. Don't do that.
I think there's that holier-than-thou attitude also mixed with... It's like you say, it's a mixture of the two. The holier-than-thou attitude, that wouldn't annoy me. It would annoy me, but it wouldn't annoy me as much as if they were still sticking
That's
to
the thing.
a certain...
If they're doing the fucking job.
This is... Yes, if they're like, we are sticking to journalistic standards, kind of integrity of, we're not biased, we're following the facts, and we have corrections, we admit when we get something wrong, we move through all these things, all of those things, right, we'll be fine. But what happens is, and it's not just in sports, as we've said, it's in everything, is this other media gets big, and instead of them going, sure, but that's a different type of, that's entertainment, like we're reporters. Instead of doing that, they've gone, no, let's compete with them on this. But it's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't try and compete with them, drop all of your standards, and still try and keep your holier-than-thou thing. It's like, no. If you stick to your standards, sure, then you can say, no, we're better reporting than that. Fine, stick to your standards. But you can't drop those standards, try compete, and then try still say you're better than those.
Don't be a fucking PR machine.
Now what you're doing...
The biggest problem is
It's like now what you're doing is you're competing with them at a game that you're losing. Because you're basically dropped to their level and getting beaten by them. So, which is just, you're not winning any game. So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and funnily, this was the whole thing because the Australian guy, he specifically raised the point of a specific Dutch publication in Formula 1 because, again, Aussies are now following Formula 1 a lot. And he said that I've been charting the person's career. And in the last couple of years... we've been looking at how that particular publication, which I call the Verstappen Times, how the subscriptions and the revenue has increased and how that person's profile has increased. And he said, if I look at what the job that he's doing, I will never call him a journalist. I will call him a PR guy. And he's bang on when it comes to that. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's PR.
And again, you have... And it was a whole lot of nonsense. First of all, the person that shared the news, I'm not a fan of it. But I'm not going to come out there and preach that maybe we should... I will do this, I have this, and fuck off. Just fuck off. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
That's...
It's the one nice thing about this podcast, I think, which is like... we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It would be fun and all that, but like neither of us are relying on this podcast for income, which
We are
means
not
we
getting
can
any,
say essentially, exactly, yeah. But like
I mean,
even
if we
when we
we're
are,
doing
it's not like this
poor
is.
job at that.
But like yeah. But even if we were,
Yeah.
like this podcast is never going to pay more than what we're earning outside of it. Let's be honest. Like in reality, unless something
look,
goes.
hey,
If it does, in
fingers
fact, it'll be
crossed.
wild.
I hope it does.
Yeah. But if it does, it'll be because we keep saying just whatever
Yeah.
shit we feel like saying.
The
And-
audience
Yeah.
again, there are a lot of people that I've seen who it's become a trend. The cult LH will hate you, the cult Verstappen fans will hate you, the cult everyone will hate you, but at that very point it has to be like that. This is the sweet spot that you have to operate in. You're not here to please anyone. You're here to provide as much value as we can when it comes to the sport, and just that, and have fun. That's it.
Yeah.
The sport should not be taken too seriously. People don't get
It's
it.
like, you know, it's as you said, it's the thing of, I don't know, it's the thing of expectations as well, because there's certain YouTubers where I watch and I'm like, I know what your take is going to be before even opening the video. And like what I like about the race, and I think they did falter on this for a little bit. I think after 2021 they faltered on it a little bit. They've come back to where the race now, I do feel like when I open the race, generally speaking,
Poor Val.
I do get
Poor
an
Val wrote
unbiased.
an article on Lewis Hamilton, and I mean, a birdie told me that he's gotten death threats from Hamilton fans. I'm not going to tell who told me, but whatever. But he's gotten death threats, and that's the
Ridiculous.
first article critical of Lewis Hamilton that the race has published. That should tell you everything. And it's because you know why it pisses me off is as soon as Sebastian Vettel retired, Ed Straw wrote an article that Sebastian Vettel should not be considered a legend, and that kind of nonsense pisses me off because I know, because I'm parallelly in this industry, so I've been approached by a few people when it comes to PR for drivers, and I know which drivers ultimately get that run these PR campaigns and which publications are running them. Maybe some Spaniard. Which one, I don't know. There are two of them. Make a guess. The whole thing is you have to keep the access. You don't want to piss off the fans and stuff like that. It's not about I'm going to provide the right opinion and the correct thing, which I feel is right. Fuck the backlash and everything. And I hope such a thing becomes more acceptable, because otherwise, you know, you're losing quality. It's just Anyways,
That was, I have to say, one thing I did like about like Jeremy Clarkson when it came to automotive stuff, for example. One thing I did like about him was like throughout his entire career, he essentially kept that whole I'm going to say what I want, and it like it served him very well, because he ended up getting a lot of followers because he just kind of said whatever he wanted, for better or for worse in a lot of situations.
I mean,
You
he's
know,
a
and I
fossil
think
now, to be honest. And
that's what-
him judging Jeremy Clarkson, a 75 or 80-year-old person. I mean, a lot of people do. For me, what Jeremy Clarkson is, those Top Gear videos that we used to see when we were growing up, that's the image I have of him. But currently, I'm not...
I see him as a farmer now.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He is. Everyone is.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's his farming
I know.
series is
By the way,
massive.
that's a running joke
Yeah.
apparently right now. Almost every English cricketer is a farmer, or a former cricketer is a farmer, because for obvious reasons.
They're all buying farms now. Yeah.
We're not going to go into that. But my point is that when it comes to Jeremy Clarkson at 80 years of age, I'm not going to use him as a barometer of what a model person should be.
No.
Right? And
No,
he gets
no. And,
backlash
like,
and
he
shat on
wasn't-
for that so much these days. And I
He
don't get
wasn't
the
a
point.
model person. Like, he said so many horrendous things
Yeah.
over the years. But like the other thing I kind of would prefer that, though. I would prefer someone who just speaks their mind and not agree with them on a lot of things than someone who just, it's fairly obvious that they're just speaking whatever does well for them. You know,
Whatever
like they,
makes them more
they don't
money.
really, it makes them more money, gives them more, like, you know, praise, whatever it is. You know, like I see that a lot on YouTube. Certain YouTubers, one video does really well, and then
That's the
they're like,
trend.
oh, well, I'll just keep saying that. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not a bigger YouTuber, because a lot of the time I'm like, but I've changed my opinion.
there is
on
something
this,
that has been
so I
actually
don't care.
told to me by a few people off the record and stuff, that why do you not have more followers? And I have around, I think, 3.5k or something. So the thing that actually stands out is it's very easy to have followers on X. It's very easy.
Yeah.
Pick a camp, glaze that person again and again and again, and just watch that count grow. What happens with me is
Yeah.
I praise a driver, I get 100 followers, and then the driver does a dog shit thing. I talk about the dog shit thing and I thrash him, and 50 of them go. That's why you don't really grow that way, and that's so common.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
That's so
right?
much easier. It's so much easier to grow just by doubling down on the same thing over and over again. And look, I think the thing is, it's like that's the only problem is when your income is reliant on that. It's very easy to dive into that.
Yeah.
You know. But
Anyways,
anyway, yeah.
Let's talk about the driver ratings then. Okay. We talked about it a bit, so let's just go through the what our team bosses have said. Then we'll.
So I'll read them out. Will I just?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So obviously Verstappen is first. Well, joint first with Norris.
Whoa, no. He's first.
Oh no, sorry, my bad. Yeah, he's first. Sorry, Norris was just first, or Norris was second in 2024 as well.
They had
sorry,
Norris
I've read that
second
wrong.
in 2024 as well.
Yeah.
I guess they're consistent.
Piastri is. Yeah, Piastri is third. He's up 1 from 2024. Russell is fourth. He's up 2 from 2024.
Russell was sixth last season.
Yep. Alonso is fifth. He was ninth last season. He was up 4. Sainz is sixth. He's down 1. He was fifth last year. Leclerc was third last year. He's down 4. He's seventh this year.
Christ.
Behrman is 8th. Hadjar is 9th. Obviously, both of those are new entries. Hulkenberg, in the season where he got his first podium, is down 2 to 10th. He was 8th last year. So, yeah. Where was... I want to see the actual, like... what they were last year, because there's a couple of drivers, obviously, that weren't there last year.
Check Daniel's
So that's it.
list.
I'm just going to check, so... I'm sure it's here. 2024 was Verstappen first, Norris second, Leclerc third, Piastri fourth, Sainz was fifth, Russell sixth, Hamilton was seventh. How do you put Russell and Hamilton together last year? Anyway, Hulkenberg was 8th, 9th was Alonso, and Gasly was 10th last year. Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so the D Telegraph is reporting breaking news, guys. Breaking news. We're breaking news right during the podcast. According to the Verstappen Times, it reports that Horner has already assembled a financially powerful consortium of investors to prepare for the purchase of a majority stake in Alpine.
So this breaking news is what I said 3 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't talk about the majority stake, right? It's talking about a majority stake.
No, I didn't.
And they're offering 763 million pounds.
So for half the team, 51%.
It's 1.4 billion, if I'm not wrong, Alpine's net worth. By the way, one of Alpine's owners just had a big accident. You saw? Anthony Joshua?
Oh, Anthony Joshua. Yeah, that's insane.
Anyways,
Wow, okay.
let's see what happens here. I mean, I'd still wait and see. For me, let's see what he does. Again, it's very, very early days, at least for now. Thoughts before we go ahead? The driver ratings, by the way. The team boss driver ratings.
Oh. I mean, let me just quickly pull it up. So, Verstappen first, I agree with. Norris second, I certainly wouldn't put him there. I think Norris did a spectacular job, but second, definitely not. Piastri third, even, I wouldn't put him there. Russell needs to move up that list. Leclerc needs to move up that list. Alonso, I'm kind of okay with. I think he did a spectacular job given the machinery he had for most of the season. I do think Sainz is a hard one for me because I think he did a very good job, especially after the first 6 or 7 races. Like, he did a really good job. I'm just not sure I would put him I'm sure I wouldn't put him ahead of Leclerc. Behrman, Hadjar, Hulkenberg as the last 3.
I won't put Behrman above Hadjar.
No. I would put... And also, to be honest with you, for a few reasons, I would have Bortoleto on that list as well.
But are those reasons? You like him?
Huh?
That's the reason.
Bortoleto? Well, I mean, he did a good job against Hulkenberg all year.
I mean,
if
he
you're
was
going to have
fine.
Hulkenberg on the list.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into a bit more of it. I think for me, the shocker is Leclerc. I mean, who did he piss off? I think the best reaction to all of this is from Shahryar. I posted it on X, and my thing was thoughts. What's your view on it? And Shahryar says, "I'm not thinking if they didn't." So
Yeah.
that was my reaction as well.
The Zach Brown that we discussed earlier also said this is why so many of them didn't last in their jobs for very long. Talking about the team principles, obviously. Yeah.
So let's share our list then. I mean, we've dragged the pod on already for 50 minutes. Wow. Yeah, let's go through it. 20 drivers. Number 20. Who do you have in number 20?
Was I supposed to make the list?
Jesus Christ.
I'll do it on the fly.
See, I told you at least 30 minutes prior to the recording. No, I told you at 7:30, right? 4 hours early.
Yeah, but I was very sick. P20 is a tough one. Actually, one of the hardest ones to do is P20 because it's either Colapinto or Hamilton. And I like Colapinto. So Hamilton?
Wait, not Lance Stroll.
No.
Wow. Okay, so I have Lance at 20. P19.
Lance Stroll.
I had Yuki. I had Yuki at P19 because, look, the season started well for him because he was not in Red Bull, and then he joined Red Bull. And then everything unraveled, and unraveled pretty poorly. P18?
Colapinto.
Yeah, me too. Your take on his season?
I think the pressure got to him more than I thought it would. It's then after that, I think he did okay. He just made some silly mistakes and so on. Honestly, the thing is, the reason I'm putting him in P18 is just like, it's kind of hard to put him any higher, given that just every other driver has at least had something that went well for them. I kind of jokingly put Hamilton in P20. I probably realistically would have put Hamilton P18, P17, something like that. But like, I don't know. The thing is, the expectation for Hamilton to do better was there. Whereas the expectation for me for Colapinto, given where the car was, given everything that went on with Jack Doohan, Colapinto was kind of expecting to be where he was. I was hoping he'd do better. Yeah. But like all that pressure, everything else, there was not much more he could have done. So that's kind of, whereas Hamilton, like, it was so bad compared to Leclerc. And then he complained about it a lot. And also, it's on brand for me to wind up Hamilton fan. So,
I mean, look, there are points when even I think we tend to go a bit too harsh on Lewis. But this was a poor season in every which way, and there are a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this is the nonsense that pisses me off when it comes to coverage. If you go through Sky Sports' review of the season, they didn't even once talk about how poor his season was. It was all, the entire talk was around Ferrari not being good enough or this. You can't really, that's not honest journalism in any which way.
The problem with Formula One is you can only compare the driver to their teammate, right? And the only excuse that Lewis has, that I have said a few times, the only thing that makes Lewis look way worse this season than he was in some ways, is the fact that Lewis was actually at certain points close enough in terms of like a couple of tenths gap to Leclerc in qualifying, for example, right? But that problem with that is it doesn't absolve you when you also go like, okay, but if I apply that to any other driver as well, like Tsunoda, for example, there was points where Tsunoda was actually only a couple of tenths off Verstappen.
Yeah.
And like, I would put Yuki pretty far down the list too, in the same situation. So like, Yuki is first year at Red Bull, thrown in at the deep end. Hamilton knew he was joining Ferrari for like over a year.
Did the preseason
joined
test,
the team, got everything. Yeah, did the preseason test. Is a 7-time world champion.
Yeah.
And he performed about as good at Ferrari compared to his teammate as Yuki did.
I mean, not as bad. But I mean, Yuki was...
I mean, no, about the same. How many podiums did he get? How many podiums did Yuki get?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's about the same.
Yeah.
I just being blunt about it. His performance and Yuki's performance are about the same. One is getting paid nearly 100 million and is a 7-time world champion.
And one of them is treated as an equal driver. The other is basically neglected in
not.
every which way possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yuki got abused this season. Honestly, Yuki got abused. The way the season went, I was just documenting this thing before writing an article on Yuki. There were, out of the last 8 races, there were 4 races where Red Bull actually apologized to Yuki for either a bad strategy, pit stop error, some setup issue. In one of them, they didn't get his tires ready, and then you fire him at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Your results are bad, but you're the fucking reason why the results are bad. When are you going to take ownership of the whole thing? But that's
Yep. This is like, I mean, look, I like P20 is probably, and no, it is. It's exaggeratingly bad on Hamilton. But again, it's just a case of, with every other driver in that situation, they turn around and say like, okay, I just didn't do enough this season or whatever. Hamilton has said that a couple of times, but there's been more times that I can count of that Hamilton has blamed something about the team culture, something about the car. How many times has Yuki said it's the car or whatever? And how many times has Yuki said, it's me, I'm not doing a good enough job? Every time
Yuki was driving an underdeveloped car compared to his teammate, who is probably the greatest of his generation.
If Hamilton had have just said, look, I just didn't prepare enough, I didn't do a good enough job, I'm going to come back next year, I'd probably be saying, you know what, Ferrari is a bitch, P15 I think is fair. But because he didn't, I'm sorry, but it's P20.
Yeah, fine. I had Colapinto at P18, and my worry is that there was a point where Colapinto came back in the battle, but during that time, Gasly was complaining a bit about some issues with the chassis and stuff. Once those issues were resolved, Gasly just took another step and Colapinto was not able to keep up in the end of the season. And the curve that we tend to see from a new driver, I wasn't seeing that this season from Colapinto, which is a bit weird because now he's done almost 1.5 seasons. You expect a bit more from him. I think next season is do or die. If he's right, if he's not performing if he's not beating Gasly, at least occasionally, and if he's not competitive, he's done. God bless you.
So I am dying. Yeah, sorry.
Maybe that brings the rest of 300 something more subscribers to the pod.
Yeah.
17th.
But yeah, I think Colapinto will do well next year. 17th, Liam Lawson.
Jesus,
I think massively underperformed on where I expect him to be.
Liam at I really don't do that thing again.
Of like where we got the teams all the same. Yeah, Liam Lawson P17. Yeah. Again, I'm coming up with these on the fly, so some of these are going to be either really nice or really harsh. But he just underperformed massively for me because I think Liam Lawson's a good driver, but like underperforming against Max in that situation is almost forgivable given we saw what happens to every driver who goes up against that. But then it took him an awful long time to come back when he went to Racing Bulls and then underperformed, in my opinion, against Hadjar, who's a rookie, in a car that was relatively easy to drive by every metric. And yeah, I just think he underperformed on where he was. The only thing I would say is I think given the mental bashing he got from everything that Red Bull put him through, it's understandable, but it's still a bad performance. Yeah. So yeah,
I also have
it is what it is.
For me, the whole thing with Liam is his season started poorly with Red Bull. The early races at Racing Bulls, he was being shown up a bit too much by Hadjar. And then there were races where he showed that he had good skills in terms of racecraft and some guile when it comes to driving. His problem is that Isaac Hadjar was just a level above him when it comes to the peak pace and performance. And that kind of showed. Once that was evident, it was a bit... It became clear that Liam's long-term future is not with Racing Bulls or Red Bulls. In long term, if he has to stick around, he has to do something that Albon, Gasly or others have done, where they've basically found their way into some other team or avenue. But yeah, let's see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
P16?
Yuki is where I'm going to put him.
Yeah, it's fine. You can't really go beyond that.
Look, again... Yeah, for all the reasons that I said about Hamilton too. Like, I mean, you can only compare it to your teammate and he did a really bad job. The only difference is, I think he deserves a little bit more leeway because at certain points, like, you know, you got to say, like, he wasn't fighting with the same car at various points throughout the season. He was dropped in without any preseason testing. and the car, he was basically thought of as an afterthought or a testing metric for most of the season. So I think he has some actual excuses. And like I said, he didn't use them once. So I'm going to give him a bit of leeway, but I still think P16 is as high as you could really
I mean,
give
I
him.
feel bad for him.
You know.
I really, really feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But even in all honesty, how I cannot rate him higher. I mean, I rated him even lower. I rated him 19th. But that was essentially because it's very hard to... On what basis am I going to rate him higher? Just vibes. You can't do that, right? That's the whole... that's the whole issue.
Yeah.
I had Lewis at 16th.
I think that's fair. I mean, if you count in the Ferrari tax of being a Ferrari driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've said it quite a few times. If there was any other driver instead of Lewis who was not a 7-time world champion, not a megastar, and he performed the way Lewis has done in Ferrari, I think there's not a single pundit in F1 and not anyone with even a shred of ethics, they would have said that Ferrari need to look at a change.
If that was Sainz this year, and even if it was Sainz's first season, if that was Sainz this year, the exact same people who were, giving Hamilton credit and saying, look, it just is what it is and whatever, or saying it's the shit car, those exact same people would say, why is Sainz at that team? Kick him out. If that was Behrman in his first season, we'd be saying he really underperformed as a rookie.
Exactly.
We would. So when it's a 7-time world champion being paid more than double what Leclerc is, it's not good enough. That's simple as that,
Next season, by the way, first...
If you put Verstappen in there, are you telling me, if Verstappen did that performance this year, are you telling me Hamilton fans wouldn't be saying, wow, this guy's really shit and just a car merchant?
I mean, they'd say that anyways. They already say that.
Sure. But I'm just saying, if there's any Hamilton fans watching who think I've been a bit harsh here, switch the name Hamilton with Verstappen and tell me you wouldn't be saying the same thing.
100%. By the way, it's funny. We've turned into bashing Max most of the time this year, and now we are crediting him. Our viewers and listeners would be confused. What's going on?
It's because I'm not I was a Vettel fan before. I'm a bit of a Colapinto fan now, but I genuinely, I think you're the same. Neither of us are massive driver fans of the sport. We enjoy the sport. We enjoy the engineering, the cars.
I mean,
it's like the drivers are secondary for me. It's kind of I'll just pick a driver every season that I'm like, oh, I like that guy. The last time I was a proper fan was Vettel, and that was more just because Vettel was just an interesting character on and off the track as well.
I couldn't,
which was
I couldn't understand because you hear the discourse, he's shit, and you hear that and you watch something entirely different, and you're like, either I'm a fucking idiot who doesn't know what's going on, or you people are fools.
To be honest, even by the end of 2013 though, I was kind of hoping someone else would take over, because it does get dull when someone just keeps winning repeatedly.
True. I was there. I mean, I cheered Australia 2014 when he had that engine problem. I was also there. So
it's thank God someone else can win.
I mean, who would have known? Be careful what you wish for. So that's the thing.
Exactly,
by the way, when it comes to Lewis, next season, first 6 races, I don't think it matters what car it is. But if he's not competitive against Leclerc, I think he's done so. They are not going to wait so long. Even there's no leverage at Ferrari for Lewis in any which way. So Kimi Antonelli P15. I have Kimi at P15.
Interesting.
What do you have?
Why?
The reason, first of all, you can only be judged against your teammate. And while, of course, again, there's tax when it comes to being teamed with probably one of the top 3 drivers in Formula 1, I still think there was a big dip in between the season. I think it was from post-Canada until... Which race was it where he was crying? Spa. That's during that period he kind of leaked a lot of points. If I look at the last 6 races for all the rookies, I think Kimi is the most impressive. But again, it's a 24 race season, so I kind of have to take the entire 24 race thing into context, and that's where he kind of takes a step back.
Me, Ocon.
Okay.
Just super inconsistent. And actually, as I'm thinking out my list in my head, because obviously again I'm just coming up with this, the next couple, it's kind of a similar thing where it's they were good at points, but like it's just super inconsistent. So it's hard to kind of put them any higher. And Ocon is up there for me as probably the worst of that inconsistent.
Yeah, this was poor.
There was a couple of races where he was good, and it was just otherwise it was kind of.
I mean,
not
look,
really,
I praise Ocon, and you also know that. But the season, the way,
and you know, I've been the opposite. But, anyway.
but the way the season has gone, I think this was the season. And unless he does something tremendously different next year, I think he's basically finally just shut the door on ever going into a top team. I think this was his ticket to ultimately reach the top team, and I think it's done. That's over. He might end up having a career where he's going to be in the midfield team, maybe be a part of a long-term project or something, but then that's it. And
kind of Hulkenberg career, basically.
Yeah, but Hulkenberg was continuously in contention with the top teams, right? Even until 2021.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the kind of career he will have now as Hulkenberg's. Where he just doesn't really move anywhere. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, he's won a race, got I think multiple podiums. Anyways, you have who did you have at 15th? Oh, Ocon, yeah. 14th, I have Gabriel Bortoleto.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Why? So he had a bit of a fidgety start to the season. The first race he crashed out. I think in China he also crashed out. I think there was a couple more races. He didn't crash out in China, but he beached the car and then came back. There's a middle segment where Bortoleto is just ruthlessly brilliant, and he's being praised by a lot of people, including Hulkenberg, who thinks he's going to be a future great. But as soon as Hulkenberg finally figured out how to qualify the Sauber, Hulkenberg was finally back on top when it came to both qualifying and in races. While early in the season and mid-part, it was Bortoleto who dominated that single lap pace and stuff. I am impressed with Bortoleto. I think he's shown us enough. I still think he's not the complete package, evolved, someone who's basically ticked every box already. I think there's still work to be done.
Yeah. I was going to put in 14 Hulkenberg.
Wow.
Actually.
Seriously?
Yeah, because I think Hulkenberg had an incredible kind of mid-run to the season, including the podium, like where he was really, really good. But I feel like for a lot of the season, other than those, like a few races, he was kind of like struggling with the car in terms of qualifying, as we talked about. And then I felt like he was kind of on par at best with Bortoleto over most of the season after that. I don't know. And Bortoleto's, we still need to bear in mind, like Bortoleto is a rookie. So, I thought Hulkenberg, like obviously he had that brilliant bit. So I want to put him higher because I love Hulkenberg and I like him on the podium and all of that was amazing.
Moment of the year.
But I can't really bash Ocon for inconsistency and then go Hulkenberg P9. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. So that's probably where I'd put him. Yeah.
Okay. So I have Ocon at 13th. So for me, it's a couple of spots higher, and I think most of the arguments that you made, I agree. I also think that he got shown up because he's got a real talent in the other car, in Ollie Behrman. I think that's also a part of it.
Okay.
I still think that Ollie is not a complete product, and Ocon should have finished ahead of him in the championship and stuff. But let's see. I'm not. Mm-hmm. As I've already said, I think this might be the year where teams stop looking at him. And by the way, what a major blunder from him. He was in negotiations with Williams, Sauber, and Haas, and he went to fucking Haas.
I don't know what he was thinking. Yeah, it
just, you know who his manager is.
No, it's going to annoy me when you tell me because I do know this in the back of my head somewhere.
Toto.
But anyway, who is it? Oh, okay, yeah, the Mercedes management, yeah. George should maybe be careful of that.
Who do you have in 13th?
Behrman, again inconsistent. I think he made a good step towards the end of the season, but for the rest of the season he was making stupid mistakes. He was getting penalty points every weekend, just all over the place. So yeah, Behrman.
Yeah. My 12th is Ollie Behrman. Yeah. So I mostly same. I think pace wise he is right up there with Kimi, but I think there's far too many mistakes in him, and that has been his entire junior career. As much he's bloody aggressive when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, and I think if he ultimately gets promoted to Ferrari, we are going to see some flashes. He might even challenge Leclerc if both of them are in the same team at the time, but the jury is still out. The pace is there, the raw talent is there, but I don't know if he'll be the elite talent of the next generation.
Yeah, I agree. I hopefully he gets into a Ferrari and gets a shot though, because I think he has some talent.
I mean,
and
I
pace,
like
but
him,
we'll
so
see.
I hope he gets into a better team than Ferrari.
Yeah. True. Yeah, fair enough. What are we on next? P12, is it? Bortoleto. Yeah. I think Bortoleto had a very good season, especially for a rookie season, especially in the Sauber. Like, I mean, look, for both of those drivers as well, if we had talked about them early, like end of last year, and we did talk about them, and I was like, I really wish Bortoleto would go anywhere else because it's going to really fuck his career up, because, you know, like normally you go to a certain team and it's just like, if that car doesn't perform, like you could say like Colapinto, maybe in a better car he could have shown a bit more what he could do, like he did in Williams. But yeah, Bortoleto, I don't think he could show much more, but his benchmark is his teammate. And I think Hülkenberg, regardless of me saying Hülkenberg was a bit inconsistent, it's still Hülkenberg. And Hülkenberg's a good benchmark of where the car is, even though I think he took some time to get used to it. And Bortoleto looked comfortable alongside Hülkenberg the whole season. And to do that in your rookie season is pretty impressive to me. So I think P12 is high enough. I don't think you could rate him higher just because there's nothing really hugely stand out. And there was some moments where he kind of, you know. So
agreed. P11. Should I go first?
I can go first if you want. Antonelli.
You rated him higher than me.
Yeah, because I think Antonelli did a pretty good job. I think I just keep saying this, like our expectations were just massive for this kid. So I think when you're up against those expectations and you're up against that teammate, like you're just setting yourself up for disaster. And even then, there were points throughout the season where it was like, oh shit, this kid looks good.
He does.
And I think, you know, you've got those expectations and you still get those moments where you're like, oh, he could really kill it. And I think I don't think that car was particularly easy to drive either, because even George was complaining at points about it. So yeah, I couldn't justify putting him in the top 10, but I think 11 is fine. I think it's where he should be.
Yeah. I think I agree mostly with you. I don't put him as high because, I mean, as I said, if we take the last 6 races, which is the last quarter, I think he's the best rookie in F1. But because I think he got multiple podiums and some very, very. I think the race in Brazil, that race weekend, it was probably the best from.
Yeah.
In terms of performance, it was one of the best weekends from any driver.
We got a good peak, didn't we, at like how good he can be.
He just has to continue to deliver on that, which will take time.
He's the youngest as well, so I mean, you know, that's the other thing. Like.
I mostly agree. I mean, I've already said my piece on him. I have Carlos Sainz in P11, which is probably a bit low.
Interesting.
Yeah. See, I didn't get the PR money. So, anyways, when I talk about Carlos, I think it's basically a season of 2 halves. The problem and why he's not higher is the first half was a bit shambolic. It's not only that the pace was not there, the errors were a bit too much. I think there was a point when I think Albon had around 70 points and Carlos had 11 or 12 or something. I might be off by 10 or 12 points either way, but that was how big the gap was. And the second half, again, he caught up to it, made some brilliant drives in both Baku and which one was it? The second podium was in which race? Qatar. Yeah. So he had 2 podiums, again, brilliant races. I just think if I look at the entire season, it was not up to the mark. Yeah, that's why he's in P11.
Yeah.
P10.
So
top 10 now.
Albon.
Yeah.
Albon. I think Albon did good at the start of the season, gained a good bit of points, as you talked about. The reason I've rated him lower than Sainz is, one, he didn't have peaks when they were available in the the Williams. Carlos seized pretty much all of those later in the season. And also, as Carlos got to grips with the car as well later on in the season, I kind of saw the old Albon coming back, the Verstappen teammate Albon coming back, that Albon who collapses a little bit under pressure. And it has me a bit concerned that like the next couple of seasons could be tough for Albon, because we wondered about this before, right? Is Albon going to be this good against a reliable benchmark? And to me, the reason I can't rate Albon any higher is it feels like the second half of the season, we kind of saw that old Albon coming back, which I'm a bit concerned about. But he didn't wow me at any point, whereas Carlos was like, once he got on top of the car, it felt like Carlos was hungry for it. And the fact that Carlos finished behind Albon, and I know some people will obviously at this point be like, oh, well, Carlos finished behind Albon, so how can you put him there or him ahead of Albon when Hamilton was behind? It's like, yeah, on points. But if you look at the situation, it's like, look at the swing in points and how it came back. Like, if Hamilton had done that in the second season, I'd be rating him much higher. But he didn't. And Albon didn't either. He lost a lot of... How close did they finish in the end? Let me pull this up.
Not much, I think.
Like, really close, right? Yeah, 9 points difference.
That's not much.
And when you consider that, like, there weren't that many points on offer for Williams, first of all. Like, I know it's 73 and 64. Like, there's enough. But considering...
Albon
like,
didn't score...
You know,
I think he had... I don't think he scored point in more than one race in the second half or something like that.
Yeah,
it was poor.
It's something like that. And and that's where Carlos got 2 podiums. So
that's
like,
a big... That's where he ate into the entire lead that he had. I think next season we might see, we're probably going to see Carlos do at Williams what Ferrari hoped Lewis would do at Ferrari, which is basically take half a season to get used to the car. Second half you take over, and by the second season you're the team leader. I think we might see that with Carlos. But I have Alex Albon at P10. But I have him higher than Carlos. And the reason why I'm higher is the first half was probably just a bit more consistent. That's all. It's not really a major difference. The average rating was 6.87 for Carlos and 6.90 for Albon. So it's slim pickings. Either way. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I mostly agree with you on this thing. In P9?
Okay. P10 I need to give, don't
you
I?
gave Albon.
No, that was P10.
P10.
So all right. We're jumping through these a lot quicker than I thought we were. P9 then, before I forget, Gasly. Because... otherwise, I can't put him any higher. And I was like, I just realised I'd forgotten about Gasly and that he existed. So probably should be P10. But anyway, P9 Gasly, I think is fair. P9 or P10 works. That car was a piece of shit throughout the entire season, and he got all of the points and maximised most weekends. And even later part of the season when Colapinto was doing quite well, still more often than not, Gasly would kind of just pull something out of the bag and finish ahead in races, and he was doing good in qualifying and stuff. So I can't rate him any higher, because who knows, like if there was a Sainz or someone else in the other car, like we don't really have a benchmark against him. But I think you can only rate him on what he did, and I think P9, P10 is fine, but I'll put him in P9 because he's lucky. Just like Red Bull, I forgot he existed. So
even I have him at P9. For me, it's Gasly at P9. I think mostly the same thing. I think there are 2 arguments to be made. One is that he was probably flattered because he had 2 under pressure rookies in the other car. The second argument is he dragged the Alpine to great lengths. We don't know what the reality is, but at least, again, Alpine stopped developing the car on 1st January 2025. So they basically had an underdeveloped car with a Renault engine. Yeah, with the Renault engine. So whatever
they brought 1 floor upgrade, I think, for the entire season.
That was
in Spain
essentially the whole.
It was for the flexible wing.
So just to fix that. But I mean, I have him P9. It's fine. It was a good. He was the team leader at Alpine, even though it means Jack.
I think Colapinto will kill him next year. We'll see.
P8?
Oh, no. This is where I have to start thinking. Carlos Sainz. I can't put him higher.
Yeah, this is very high, actually.
I could put him 1 higher. No, Carlos Sainz. I think Carlos Sainz did a very good job, and I think honestly, like, I could swap him with who I'm going to put in P7.
Okay.
But like,
I have some idea who you're going to put in P7. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reality is, like, he did take a while to warm up and maybe a bit longer than I expected him to compared to some of the other rookies and people switching teams and so on. But I think still he did a pretty good job. And by the end of the season, he looked pretty commanding in that Williams. Like, he looked like he'd been there for a lot longer than he has. So, Sainz continues to, like, honestly, Sainz gets a lot of shit from a lot of people. But honestly, like, we've said this last year, I think, like, on our list of like top tier drivers, he is just outside that list. And like Oscar was just outside that list for me with him last year, and Oscar jumped into that top tier list. So I think like Carlos is in that unfortunate position of like, he's probably a driver who needs to look into the right situation to get a championship because he is just on the cusp of being like a championship driver. But he just I think he just misses that last bit of pace that those guys have. You know, otherwise
he's basically
brilliant.
the Gerhard Berger to Senna, Prost, and others, right?
He's Jensen Button.
Jensen Button won the championship. He also outscored Lewis Hamilton in 3 years.
Well, technically, I mean, Carlos Sainz did a lot better than Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari, so we could. So I mean,
yeah.
Because Carlos Sainz outscored Leclerc in their first season together, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we use pub maths,
of course, then that's the best maths. Yeah, that's the best maths.
Yeah. That's the maths that all F1 Twitter uses anyway. So, it's. But yeah, he did a really good job, and I think like I was a little bit concerned for him at the start of the season.
So was I.
He really brought it back. Yeah, because it looked like he was really fucking struggling. And it was like, oh, this is interesting. But he got on top of it. So
there was a stage when his teammate had almost 4 or 5 times the points that he had, and that's very debilitating, right? Yeah. And there were questions raised that whether Williams made the right call, and then you have the second half, and he completely turned it around. I mean, the pace was there; it was just putting everything together. So good on him, honestly. Good job.
Yeah.
I have Isaac Hadjar at 8. Great season.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, in terms of rookies on this rating, I think I have him the highest, and stable, showed some impressive peaks. The Dutch Grand Prix again stands out for the podium and everything. I think his real challenge and probably his career entirely depends on 2026 and how he does against Max. But I think Hadjar has surprised me almost every time I've seen in the last couple of years, because I don't know, I keep rating him a bit lower than where he performs. Let's see if he surprises against Max.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Who do we have at 7?
Okay, I could swap 7 and 6, but I have my reasons for 7, and it's Alonso.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The thing about Alonso is just I want to put him one higher, but there's a driver, you probably guessed who it is already, that I'm like, again, if we go expectation, reality, all these things. Alonso maximized that car, I think, after the first 6 races. The first 6 races he seemed a bit lost. There was something off about him and that car. But after that, he just maximized that car. Like, there was weekends where I know his benchmark is Lance Stroll, so a lot of people are going to complain about that in the comments, but like, at the end of the day, Lance Stroll is still reasonably competent. That's about the biggest compliment I could give Lance Stroll, because in every other metric, I think he's a fucking useless piece of shit. But if you put him, I'm not a journalist, I can say what I want. If you put him against Lance Stroll, like, Lance Stroll is reasonably competent, and therefore you've got like a semi decent idea of what the car can do, because you know the lower end of the car. And Alonso was way ahead of that lower end, like the whole way through after those 6 races. And something was off. It was a weird one as well. Maybe it was just a case of he kind of had written off the season himself from the start. Like, even in 2024, he was like, 2025 is I'm just going to forget it exists, basically. So maybe that was just the mindset, and he just couldn't get on top of some changes because of that or whatever. But yeah, there was just multiple races this season where Alonso was doing things where I was like, how are you doing that in the Aston Martin?
The biggest of them all.
Yeah.
Slowed everyone down.
There was so many. Yeah. There was so many where it was just, this guy hasn't lost a thing of how great he is. Like, it's just all still there. So I really hope he has a good car in 2026.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. And I seriously hope he
Yeah.
doesn't retire, because I want to see him at least once in a title contending car. That's all.
Yeah.
Just one for the oldies. So yeah, I have Hulkenberg at P7. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a lot higher than I do. Yeah.
So for me, him at P7 is, again, his season had peaks and troughs, but the peaks was ridiculous. The in Australia, there's no business for him to score points, where he ended up scoring. Again, almost everyone was crashing out. Then the race in Barcelona, where I think he overtook Lewis.
yeah.
Then the podium, and then the race in Austria, and then the later half. Now there was a big lean patch in between after the podium in which was the race it was in Silverstone. He didn't really
British,
he didn't really score even a point or something for a while, and then finally when it clicked, he started getting things together. Yeah,
Maybe it was just the hangover was still going
could
on
be.
from the podium.
At
Like, maybe he
advanced
was
age,
just,
it takes time.
Just drinking every weekend. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe he just continued drinking. You know, who knows?
can't blame him.
They don't breathalyze the drivers, I don't think. So he could have shown up drunk for every race. Like, who knows?
Can't blame him either. I mean, took a decade.
He waited enough time. Yeah.
So
yeah.
6 Hajar. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do that.
It's really high, but also like, just he was the best rookie of the season, I think, for me. And I think we've talked about this before. Like, some of the other drivers were brilliant, but he was just brilliant every weekend, basically. I know there's a couple where he kind of fell apart, but they're so rare I can't even remember them. Like, it's for the most of the season, he was amazing. His qualifying was incredible. He scored a podium.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, I don't know. He was just spectacular and just super calm. Apart from that, what was it? The formation lap incident in Australia. Like, apart from that one moment, he didn't look out of place as an F1 driver the whole season.
That's true.
I just really hope that next year's Red Bull is a bit more forgiving on its number 2 driver. Or that he's able to just deal with it and get on top of it, because I think he's got some raw talent, and it would be a real shame if going to Red Bull fucks up his career, because I think he clearly has the talent.
At least to
And
be
it's
in
just-
F1 and be a good, strong driver. I still don't know what his peaks are. I think that is still a question mark for me.
That's the problem.
But otherwise, he's shown some very, very...
In terms of qualifying, he kind of, like, I'd say he has at least the ability to be a Bottas, just because his qualifying is so good. You know what I mean? Like, he could be the best number 2 driver a team could ask for. But we don't know. Like, he could end up doing a fucking Ricardo on Vettel or on Verstappen next year. You know what I mean?
He's moving to Red Bull at probably the best time in the last 4 years, because first of all, the regulations are not stable.
Yeah.
Secondly, the regime has changed, so we don't know how this regime is going to approach it.
And also, Verstappen's thinking about leaving. So
Yeah.
it's almost 2014 exactly in many ways, which is quite hilarious. Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what he does. I seriously hope his
New
career doesn't
engine.
get fucked up. That's the...
So do I.
That's the only hope we can actually have when it comes to being a Verstappen teammate these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have Alonso at P6. Yeah. So the first race in Australia, he could have scored a decent haul of points. It was just the fucking gravel that came onto the track and kind of screwed him. In China, he had a brake failure. Again, he was scoring points, but Lance ended up scoring points. I think early in the season, he got unnecessary flack. The pace was still there. I think what we have to understand...
He was very unlucky as well. Yeah, like very unlucky.
I mean, he said it. The unluckiest man in the world. Remember, the team radio.
As did... And Sainz got very unlucky during that too, now that I think back to it.
Agreed.
Yeah, so.
And for Alonso, when you look at his qualifying throughout his career, it's not his forte. Never. It has never been his forte. But there are at least 5 or 6 races where Lance was getting knocked out in Q1 and Alonso was in Q3.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. Especially at Alonso's age. He's 43, 44. And we often talk about this thing, right? That at certain age, you stop taking those final risks when it comes to pushing for that final lap. He's still doing that, which is just remarkable.
But hold on. But the car is shit and he's old. These are the 2 excuses I hear for another driver not being good against his teammate, and I'm just confused here.
Yeah.
Is this?
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
moving on.
Yeah. Fair point. I no disagreements there from me.
I got called an Alonso fan the other day because I said
I got called a racist.
I said
the other
Hamilton.
day, so what are you talking about? If you're
Yeah. I get called that every day based on my skin color.
then why do I get called?
But yeah,
that
just
in that case.
because you're Indian and people are idiots. Yeah. Ironically, people are racist who call you racist. That's the irony of the whole thing.
P5. Now we are talking about the top 5. Now we might have a bit more debate on how you place these guys. I think we might have a bit more debate.
I don't know if we will.
Yeah. Let's see.
Because I think I think maybe the top 3 we will. I'm not sure about the back half. The top 5 is actually really difficult because you're talking about like a world champion, Verstappen, like some of the best drivers on the grid. So like the margins like F1 are quite small. That's what makes it interesting. And because of that, P5 for me is Piastri because...
Of course. Yeah, we have the same one.
Yeah, we probably will have the same thing most of the way. I would say the bottom 2 we probably have the same. The top 3 we may differ a little bit. I just think Piastri, like, he had the title winning car this year because that car won the title, and he ended up P3 to a Norris who, in my opinion, underperformed with that car repeatedly. So if it's hard to put Piastri much higher. I know it's only his 3rd season and so on, but at the end of the day, look, as you've pointed out before as well, and as we've seen, like Raikkonen, 3rd season, incredible.
Yeah.
So it's not really. I know it's a different time, different era, all these different things. But anyway,
It was tougher than.
the point
by
is,
the way.
I can't.
It was actually tougher than, and he was battling Michael Schumacher and the Ferrari juggernaut, and he fell 2 points short or 3 points short, something like that.
Yeah. So I can't put it this way. I just can't put him ahead of Norris. Given
No
Norris-
one
Norris
in
wasn't
their
that
right
good this
mind
season.
can do that, unless they're Bernie Collins who did that. So she's Irish, right?
all right then. Northern Irish doesn't count. I'm checking, but I'm pretty sure she's from Belfast. It's not real Irish. I do like Bernie
I mean,
Collins.
even
though.
I
just
did, but
don't-
when I saw that list, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? She had Oscar as the best.
Yeah, she's
driver.
from Maguire. She's from Maguire's Bridge in Northern Ireland, so she's not. It's like Eddie Irvine. It's not real Irish.
Okay. Even I have Oscar at P5. By the way, in case for the context for what Jason was talking about, so I posted this thing on X, which was how drivers performed in the 3rd season. So Oscar's 3rd season has been used as a bit of a thing that he's inexperienced, and that's what cost him. Well, I mentioned Kimi Raikkonen's 3rd season and his overall 4th season racing cars, where he competed for the championship against Michael Schumacher in 2003, and he fell 2 points short.
Yep.
That's how close he was, and ideally he would have won the championship if it was not for the whole thing with Ferrari basically pulling the fast one with the Michelin tires and the whole thing. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. P4 is, I think, again we're going to be on the same side. Yeah.
You go
Lando.
first then.
I have Lando at P4.
Yeah. I do feel a bit harsh us putting him in P4 because he is the world champion. But at the end of the day, like, it goes back to where we had people. Yeah, it goes back to where we put other people on the list. It's like inconsistency compared to the car's performance. And both Oscar and Norris were there, where they flip-flop back and forth in the car repeatedly, So it just is what it is.
I think for me, Oscar's season until Monza, it was a championship winning season, but then it just disintegrated. And if he can maintain his form, the form that he had until Monza, I think he would have walked the championship quite easily because he had a 100 plus advantage over Max and 30 plus over Lando. And which actually makes the 2026 season interesting because it's not that he's a slow driver, it's just that he couldn't really, for some reason or the other, he had that slump and he couldn't recover. If he doesn't have that slump and he just keeps the consistent form, he walks the championship. When I talk about Lando, I think there are positives and there's one area where I think he cannot really improve. which is basically his wheel-to-wheel acumen. The way Leclerc toyed with him in Austin, basically on slow tire and just on a soft tire compared to Lando on a medium, and the way he was able to hold on to it, it was comical. You shouldn't be able to do that, and I think that's something, it's a bit more instinctive, and that's something where Lando continues to struggle. He has the pace, he showed the pace. Next season, if he can cut down on the errors, he might be able to still win and dominate. But it's the X factor. I think Lando still lacks that. Let's see if he ultimately works on it and proves that.
Yeah.
P3.
All right, let's get into disagreements.
Go for it.
Leclerc.
Yeah, I disagree.
P3.
Tell me why.
I thought so.
So it's basically, I think first is going to be Max Verstappen for both of us, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. It's basically a battle between 2 and 3. That's where we are going to have a bit of a debate then. Why do you have George ahead of Leclerc?
It goes once again just back to the consistency thing. I just think Leclerc wasn't quite as consistent as Russell. Yes, I do think the car was worse, but there was just weekends where there's weekends where Leclerc kind of, and in fairness, this is again understandable, looked like he had kind of given up. And it's like, I understand that because he is driving the red car, which is fair. But for me, George just didn't have that. No, there was a couple of weekends where George got beat by Antonelli, for example. But for me, that was just more spectacular from Antonelli. Like, George was still right there, right behind him, right on it. And it wasn't like he was kind of just, lost over it for the weekend. And there was very few, but there was a couple of weekends where Leclerc just looked a bit off to me. And it just, I'm trying to think what they were. There were so few. But
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Leclerc was spectacular just in terms of like pace, in terms of racecraft, in terms of everything. Like, it's hard to separate him from even Verstappen. Like, George Verstappen and Leclerc for me are like so inseparable in terms of performance this season. For me, it's just a ranking level of consistent performances, and I just thought George and Verstappen were more consistent than Leclerc were in performance. And again, it's understandable. Leclerc's at Ferrari, and he definitely had the worst car of the three of them. So, that's the problem.
I'd look at it slightly differently, because until mid-season I had George ahead of Charles. But from mid-season onwards, the level that Charles went to, because if you'd noticed, a few races into the mid-season, you had Lewis pretty much snapping at the heels of Charles when it came to performance.
Yeah.
But then Charles took a step, and once he did that, Lewis was just unable to keep up. And then it's at that very point when he started doing the whole experimental setups and all thing, and then he just fell back even further. It was that step and the kind of...
Was he doing experimental setups, do you think?
I don't know, man. I mean, because he was struggling, wasn't it? That's why he's been doing it for the last 4 years since they had...
Yeah. He's been doing those experimental setups since 2022.
Once he had...
Yeah. If only I could have qualified better. Anyway.
It's that's the whole thing with him, honestly, because I think Leclerc, this season for me, it was probably the final notch when it comes to him. I think the only area where I think Leclerc needs to still work on, it's qualifying. Sorry, not qualifying. The wet weather, overall acumen.
Oh, I was going to say like team management.
He can't do that. I mean, you can't.
Getting a different... No, I mean as in like getting to a different team. That's the biggest area.
Leclerc's career is probably at the point where if he doesn't make the right call next season in terms of where he's spending his next 3 or 4 years, I think he either ends his career without a world championship and pretty much a next John Alesi, or he ends up doing what Lewis did, where he basically transformed his entire career. And a lot of people forget this thing, by the way. Lewis won his first championship at 24 years of age, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And it was 2008.
Yeah.
By 2012, he was getting closer to 30. And he had not... In 2010, he had a sniff of the championship, but he wasn't really able to do anything more than what he did. If he had not made the call in 2012 that he was moving to Mercedes, Lewis retires as a one-time world champion, and
Yeah.
Nothing close
100%,
to the
yeah.
kind of fame
Yeah.
and whatever you can say that he ended up achieving.
So we're saying maybe Ferrari can go on an 8-year
No,
run.
I'm saying Leclerc needs to move.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's again for me in terms of performance, I rate Leclerc a bit higher compared to George. Plus, I mean, the kind of overtakes he pulled on George and Zandvoort, right? Couple of them. That's basically snatching.
Illegal overtakes, but anyway.
I mean,
yeah.
one of them. The other was good.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them are
I'm
brilliant,
joking.
honestly. That you need to see
there's
those
there's
things.
so little
Yeah.
between them. Yeah.
A championship
Yeah.
featuring him, Max, and George, and stuff of dreams, right?
If they can give those three like relatively equal cars, it'd be just an incredible
if
season.
those three have cars similar to what Leclerc and Max had at the start of 2022, and the cars don't fall off
my
or start
God, yeah.
blowing up,
Yeah.
we'll have the season of
Yeah.
the ages. But we don't
Yeah.
get good things in life, we do we? Yeah. I mean, almost time to wrap it up then. I think both of us have
I guess we don't
Max.
really need to talk about Max anyway. Like he just
By the way, I did not have Max at the top by the midway point of the season. I had Oscar Piastri at the top.
Yeah. We both, I think we're kind of in that mindset of like Oscar's going to walk this championship now.
And
how the tables turned, yeah.
Is this the biggest bottling of a championship ever? More than 100 points?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think anything comes close
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
case, right?
Oh, you're talking about Verstappen or Oscar?
I was talking about... okay, by the way,
Because Verstappen bottled the
he
championship.
did.
You know?
He did.
He's-
Because when... Oh, what's his name? Minslav? Ollie Minslav actually called him and said that Christian Horner was being fired. If Max had said no, don't fire him, then Horner would have made sure that either Lando got a penalty in Abu Dhabi, or he would have turned up the volume so much that the pressure would have led to even more mistakes from McLaren. Yeah.
And Brazil.
And Brazil.
He probably would have won,
fuck,
I think,
yes,
in my
Brazil.
opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think he would have said, like, Horner would have very much been on the radio being like, you've nothing to lose here. Just keep track position, see
Exactly.
what happens. Like, do you want a P1 or do you want a P3? Or do you want a, like, P2? You know, like, you've nothing to lose here. Let's go for it. So,
Yeah, sucks it.
Yeah.
He would have equaled Michael Schumacher if he had won the 5th championship. But yeah. Here we are. Anyways, let's jump into the questions. I had asked a few questions. I was fresh off the the round table, so I had a few things on my mind. So I had asked our subscribers their view in terms of what is the biggest frustration with the F1 media and the general F1 discourse. With that, we'll probably end the season as well. So,
Okay.
so first of all, we have Geo Mission. The fans are the fans, whether it's F1. Okay. Penalties seem inconsistent and sometimes seem to be grudge-based. Every car should be weighed and completely inspected after each race. Any reason the FIA gives as to why they can't is a lie. What's your view on this? The last part.
I just think like it's a big task to run through everything, and by having that random setup, it kind of makes sense because it kind of puts pressure on the teams that you could just get checked at any point. So instead of the FIA, like, because realistically, I just don't think they have the time.
Yeah, they don't.
I get where you're coming from.
You're
like,
right. You're
you know,
actually
they don't
right.
really
Because
have the
this
time,
is
though.
it's actually a logistical issue. You cannot test more than 3 or 4 cars at best because these are extensive. You're basically what you're doing is you're breaking apart each piece of the car and checking if everything is all right.
Yeah.
And you cannot do that for 20
Yeah.
cars. It
It's a
becomes
lot of
a
time.
lot of problem. And again, sometimes teams might get lucky, but it's not going to be a willing default. If there's one way to put it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next one is Dane Lua. When it comes to frustration from F1 fan generic discourse, maybe it's in the 4 modern champions: Lewis fans, Alonso fans, Verstappen fans, and Raikkonen fans downplaying Sebastian Vettel. Okay, for me, he's right. By the way, he's 100% correct. What he's specifically saying is, he's pissed off that Vettel does not get his due when it comes from different fan bases, and that includes the Alonso, Hamilton, Verstappen, and Raikkonen fan base. I mean, Kimi fan base is cool in general, but I agree. I still don't understand why the Alonso fan base still shits on Vettel, which is actually funny, but yeah. You can't really you can't force fans to act or to like someone they don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Next is Flaky. So I don't watch anything from FOM or F1 puts out, or anything from media or journalists. If something actually happens, it's so front and center that you can't miss it, and everything else is just slop. If there's something interesting, you two will talk about it. Well,
yeah.
Good. Flaky, you're living the life. You're living life the right way, actually. That's how everyone should.
Flaky is the reasonable one. Subscribe. Yeah.
Red Robin, he already has, by the way. Red Robin 1122. My biggest issue is there isn't a respectful sense of competition. It is never Red Bull did better or Mercedes did better. Fans frame every. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this has been my biggest frustration as well, because I don't think you saw it. So there was, if you remember, Spanish Grand Prix 2011. So Vettel beat Hamilton, and it was basically where Vettel had a curse issue or something. So I posted it, and essentially it was a bit like I praised Vettel for doing that, and the entire comments box was saying that Vettel had a 1 second faster car in qualifying and stuff, and he lost. Everyone knows he didn't even have curves during the last 10-12 races, 12 laps, but that's fan. I mean, my only thing is, if you want to be a driver fan or any fan, don't leave your brain in the freezer before you start commenting on social media. That's just my request, but people won't do that. Anyways, Chihiro, bring back the grid girls, but also include the grid boys. So to go with the times, basically.
Yeah.
When did we stop having grid girls?
I don't know, but it was so long ago now that it hurts. Yeah.
Okay. Don't race in Losail. Agreed. Go to Sepang instead. Agreed. Yeah. And as much as I love the Alonso trains, please make them race. The problem is,
agreed with
there's
everything.
A problem. If they start racing, Alonso will fall back even further. He has to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Actuals, my bruv. Wags and celebrities during the race. He hates that. Words cannot describe how little I care about these people. I don't mind if they show extraneous people during free practice or in quali gaps. But I don't want to lose a second of racing to learn that an F1 driver has a pretty missus. Okay. I agree. I actually agree. Regarding the state of fandom, just dumbasses who don't understand the myriad complexities of F1 and pontificate with the self-importance of a stupid person with Dunning-Kruger. You want to explain what Dunning-Kruger is?
What?
The Dunning-Kruger effect.
The Diane Kruger
Dunning-Kruger.
effect,
It's essentially something on the lines of, if I'm not wrong, I might be wrong. It's essentially being in an echo chamber and then listening the same thing again and again and drinking your own Kool-Aid and ultimately.
Yeah.
So what happens, I mean, as they say, right, that the right-wingers continue to hang out with right-wingers and then think that is the entire worldview, and the left-wingers...
See, I was thinking that there's it's the Dunning-Kruger effect. I always thought that was the Diane Kruger effect, because Diane Kruger is like... Yeah, it's like people who are overconfident in their abilities, basically.
Ultimately, because what happens is your worldview becomes that only. Okay,
it's like everyone has that effect, for example, with a couple of things like driving. Everyone thinks they're a better driver than they actually are, for example.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. Yeah. They should bring back V10s. I mean, yeah, that would be great, but they can't because the volume is an H&S issue. Oh. And street tracks wouldn't pass the required environmental impact stuff. It's how it is, but morons boil everything down to stupidly simplistic opinions.
But we can just pay to offset carbon. It's simple.
By the way, he's completely right. The whole nonsense around we need to have V10s, we need to have those loud noises. any person, anyone with even a little bit of scientific bend is going to tell you one very, very simple thing: noise is wasted energy. As simple as that. But yeah, we have barbarians which completely miss the point every time. And I've seen so many of the
Just
people.
build nuclear power plants. We're all fine.
What?
Relax.
What?
Just build nuclear power plants. It'll solve everything. Stop talking about environment. I've given up on climate change. I don't care anymore.
You made an entire video on it.
Yeah, which I think is titled "I've given up on climate change." 'Cause I just don't care anymore. Because I've just realized we have a solution sitting in front of us, and even though like the argument, as I've said before, it's like it's not a 200 or 300 year solution, but it's like, okay, but you have a solution for right now that you could put in place that would fix everything in the interim and give us enough time to fix the technology around it, and would only get better. And your argument is it's too expensive. It's like, climate change isn't a bother.
We're basically on the fast track to the bottom. I've given up on the entire concept of. There are people that are coming up and saying,
I've given up on humanity, though. Maybe that's the issue. and climate change in reality is mostly killing human habitats.
Yeah.
So I've just given up on humanity. It's an easier solution.
Yeah, I mean, you spend even half an hour on social media, you will give up on it pretty soon. So yeah,
you spend even half an hour talking to other people.
No,
this podcast is a perfect example.
I don't disagree at all. Okay, Luke Wilson. As a new fan who started fully in 2024. Oh, that's quite
nice.
new, actually. Yeah. I've
nice.
noticed 3 things on the media and fan discourse. First, F1 is not an athlete sport. Drivers are only 30% of the sport. 30 is a bit of a big number.
Bit too much.
Make it 5.
Yeah.
And yet
10%.
And yet they are treated as the most important part. The technical side is very surface level. True. In the TV direction,
it's easier to explain as the thing. Though.
No.
That's
also
why,
another reason.
You know,
how are you going to make money if you're not going to have any sellable commodity in place?
Yeah. People like people.
Like people, plus you need something to put a poster on.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
Even earlier. So when you talk about the F1 chronology, the people, Juan Manuel Fangio was the best driver ever in his era, even when he was 50 and had a big pot belly. The reason he could have driven any car and he was going to win. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
As we have progressed, the whole margin has continued to shrink, and now it's, maybe you can say since 1990s, it has become more of a car than a driver. And it's just that the marketing has not caught on. So yeah. Okay, in the TV direction, the top 5 positions are only followed. That means the rest of the grid feel irrelevant. Imagine if F1 had followed battles throughout the grid. Through the session, it wouldn't be as boring as we say. It's true.
We went on a rant about this, I think, in 2023. Were we doing a podcast
we started
in 2023?
2024.
Did we start in 2024?
Yeah.
Oh, it must have been me ranting about it on the Wheel Sports channel in 2023, which is where I repeatedly said to people, I was like, the thing about 2023 is if you forget Max exists, it's actually a really exciting season. And this points on that exact thing of like, there was loads going on throughout the field. The midfield battles were brilliant. And people just got on to, it's a shit season because no one's fighting for the title. And I was like, it's pretty impressive what Max is doing and what Red Bull are doing. So I was like, well, just focus on the rest. Like, forget he exists if that annoys you, and you're like, immediately you've got a great season. So he's bang on here. Like,
the best example is the last race we had, Abu Dhabi. We continued to fixate on Lando, Max, and Oscar, while Lewis made his way through the entire field. Then I think there were 2 to 3 other drivers who did the same thing, and we had 60 or 65 overtakes, and we didn't see even 5 of them. There were some stunning ones that Lewis pulled, and we didn't see anything. But yeah. The third point, this goes for a society as a whole, but fan discourse is like any democracy ever. Any stupid person has the same platform as an educated one, but stupid person is the louder one, right? That's the problem.
Yeah. I love the old saying. What is it? Don't argue with an idiot. They'll bring you down to their level and then beat you with experience.
Don't swim with the pigs.
That's basically F1 Twitter. That just reminded me as well. I'm recording something tomorrow for the Jason Hassett show thing, which I had never heard about until just like randomly stumbled upon it in research, which is the business plot.
The what?
Which was in the business plot is what it's called, and I had never heard about it before, and it's just so interesting. Which is like in the 1930s, a group of people who were funded by like J.P. Morgan and like a load of rich people in America, basically had gotten sick of like populist democracy, and they like were annoyed about it. And they had an entire plan with like 500,000 troops ready to basically take on the French, a growing French fascist model, which was like a better version of Italy and Germany's fascist model. And they got very close to basically taking over, or like doing an American coup in 1933.
Do you know the story of?
I've just never heard.
Do you
about
know the story of how the robber barons actually were ultimately reined in?
No. It's probably in this story,
actually
though.
Came down to these guys. So you know about Franklin D. Roosevelt, right? He was the president during that time, 1930s, and he was there until he died before the end of the Second War. So 44, I think he died. His father was Teddy Roosevelt, and he was the person. If you had noticed, there's one man Trump continued to talk about during his entire campaign. It was, I'm forgetting the person's name, the one who had all these tariffs and everything.
Not Reagan.
No. He was from 1910s.
Yeah. Can't think about it.
I'm forgetting the name as well.
I'm also quite sick.
I'm forgetting the name. So that person was the first, you can say, first puppet president that was put in place by the robber barons through intense funding and everything. His role was let these guys do anything, give them the tax cuts and everything, no taxes or anything. Then Teddy Roosevelt was the person who was supposed to be the, you can say, the person for the labors, and just to keep him in check, he was made the vice president. And whoa, you okay?
Sorry. Say hello. Say hello. Did you get new sandals? Well, sorry.
Yeah.
This has become very important.
Okay.
Say hello. Show your new sandals. She just came in to show me she's got new sandals. Say hello. No. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So basically, Teddy Roosevelt, he became the vice president to the person who was actually put in place by these guys: Rockefeller, Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and I'm forgetting the fourth one.
The Rothschilds.
Yeah.
And
No, Rothschilds were in Europe. These three guys. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So
yeah.
out of the blue, the person who was made the president, he died. Then became Teddy Roosevelt. And then he started what's called reigning in the robber barons. And then he started breaking these monopolies apart. And then that's when the whole thing began.
Well, these guys in the business plot had like a huge... they had everything planned to perfection to basically overtake. And then it turns out they just made one fatal mistake, which was the guy that they had in charge of this like new army they had built. They thought because of who he was, he would basically go along with it. And it turns out he went along with it as like a veteran and like deeply democratic. Yeah. And he basically turned them in and was like, this is about to happen.
I mean, J.P. Morgan, he was the one who funded America out of recession, right? He was the guy. Yeah. And he was the one who was responsible for the entire, what is it called? I'm forgetting the name. The entire military that was used in the First World War, it was through him that went through. And
so billionaires are good, basically, is what we're learning here from this story.
I'm going to reserve my opinions on billionaires.
And on that bombshell.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year. Have a good one. And okay, by the way, thanks for being here. It's been a fun journey. I hope it continues in 2026. See you next year.
We're nearly at 100 episodes, so thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Subscribe.